Hello, and welcome to the fourth in our series of admissions chats for this admissions season. And welcome to a chat about life in the upper school. My name is Elena Holton. I'm Director of Admissions, and hopefully we've already had the chance to connect. And if not, I look forward to connecting with you down the line. One thing I should say, life in the upper school. Different schools define grade breakdowns and divisions differently. So at St. Clement's, the upper school is grades 7 through 12. So junior school 1 through 6 and upper school 7 through 12. And I have a variety of representatives of the upper school with me today, and I will have them introduce themselves. So because of Zoom and the impossibility of knowing who comes where, I will call you out. And if you could introduce yourself, your role at St. Clement's, and the kind of co-curricular activities you've been involved with. And obviously that's for staff. Students will get to you in a moment. So how about Nat? Let's start with you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Natalie LaForce. I'm head of senior school. What kind of co-curricular activities have I been involved in? Well, lots of arts activities, directed plays, Sights and Sounds of Spring, which is an art showcase here. I've also been involved in the junior school with a program called Positively Pets, where different pets come into the school. And I was very lucky to be the moderator of that co-curricular, which was really exciting for me.
Thank you. Amy.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Amy Paradine. I'm the head of middle school here. Certainly, co-curricular activities, one of note was my involvement with the grade 5 through 8 swim team, which was a lot of fun working with students in both our junior and our middle school, and then going on to some of our tournaments and things with the whole school and that kind of stuff. So thanks.
Thank you. Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter McGrath. I teach in the science department, both middle school science, so grade 8, as well as senior level physics, grade 11 and AP. Co-curricular wise, I have coached cross country the last, I think, 10 or 11 years at the school, and taken lots of groups to OFSA, which was always an exciting trip, and as well as track and field for the past bunch of years. I've done some VEX robotics. I'm currently staff advisor to a student who's running a film club. And so, yeah, a bunch of things around the school.
Thank you. And lastly, Jen.
Hi there, I'm Jen Wareham, and this is my third year at SCS. I currently teach grade 8 integrated studies and grade 7 art and grade 7 drama, but I have also taught grade 9 and 10 English, as well as grade 10 drama here at SCS. And outside of class, I've directed the middle school play. I've acted as staff advisor for the Clementines, which is the school newspaper. And this year, I helped to coach the senior cross-country team. And yes, we got to go to OFSA. So that was a lot of fun. It was a first-time experience for me.
And you said integrated studies, and that's not always clear to everyone. What is integrated studies?
Yeah, integrated studies is a program that's unique to St. Clement's, and it is offered at the grade 7 and 8 levels. And it combines the curriculum for history, geography, and English. And what's cool about it is that at any one time, students could be learning at any one lesson, students could be learning any one of those 3 subjects or all 3 subjects at the same time.
Excellent, thank you. And we may dig into that a little bit more later, but I thought it was worth taking advantage of the opportunity to explain. And definitely not to be least, the 3 students who are kind enough to join us this afternoon. If you could share with us your name, the grade you came to the school in, the grade you're in now, and the kind of things you've been involved with. And we'll start with you, Melanie.
So my name is Melanie and I'm in grade 11 right now. So I came to SCS at grade 9 and I've literally been involved in all sorts of activities. For example, the choir, the band, the sewing club, the science club, even stage production. And it really has been a really adventurous journey, I must say.
Love it. Angie.
Hi, I'm Angie. I came to the school in grade 6 and now I'm in grade 9. And similarly to Melanie, I have been involved with a variety of activities such as robotics. That one is probably my favorite right now. Debate club, math club, science club, just a bunch of similarly STEM.
Excellent, thank you. And Caitlin.
So my name is Caitlin. I came to SCS in grade 7, and I'm currently in grade 9, just like Angie. And as for co-curriculars, I've been involved in the Clementines. This year I've joined the robotics team. I've been involved in, I've been involved in our middle school production, but as a stage crew. I've been involved in a variety of sports as well. So I did basketball and cross country the past few years. And yeah, I think that's about it.
So as you can see, we like to get into a wide variety of things, and we have lots of opportunities, staff and students alike. So thinking about sort of daily life, which often includes these kinds of co-curriculars, but starting with the students, what does a typical day look like for you? And anyone can jump in. Any of the students want to tell us what a typical day looks like? Go for it, Melanie.
So for me, I typically arrive at school around 8:40, and we'll have 2 periods of class first. Then we'll go to home form, where we take on some announcements and just general planning for the entire day. And then after, we'll have another period. Okay, so I got it a bit mixed up. So we go to school and we have period 1 and then home form and the second period. And after we'll have lunch and the 2 periods after. And we normally get dismissed around 3:30.
Caitlin or Angie, want to add anything else into your typical day? What does homework look like on a typical day?
Yeah, I could add. I guess homework, it's very different for every day. Sometimes there are weeks, sorry about the background noise if there is any, but sometimes there are weeks where I'll have a lot of tests coming up. So I'll spend a lot of time prepping for that. And usually when that happens, teachers will refrain from giving us a lot of extra additional homework, especially if they're coming up within the next few days. And sometimes I'll come home and I'll have no homework. So I'll just review things that we've done in previous weeks just to keep my mind fresh.
Would you say that's about right, Melanie and Caitlin? Similar for you? And so Nat and Amy, how would you describe the program in the upper school?
Right. Well, thanks. I think we'll start sort of by telling you just a little bit more about middle school and senior school, sort of how we conceive those, and then add a little bit more in, I'd say. So our middle school, that includes our grades 7 through 9, and recognizing grade 9 really is high school. And I think Angie and Caitlin and Melanie all would say that too. It's our umbrella of how we group things here. We view that time as we use the phrase developing independence. And it's through these important learning and growth years that we provide integrated learning opportunities, like Jen was explaining, integrated studies. And experiences like that encourage and develop that interdisciplinary understanding, as well as some critical and creative thinking. Focus is placed on what we would say the cognitive and social and emotional needs of those early adolescent years, as we support the students as they progress toward greater independence as learners and as members of the community. Nat?
In the senior school, we're really launching lifelong learners, and the senior school is grades 10 to 12. It's really a time for deeper exploration. It's marked by continued academic growth and ongoing leadership. The diverse subject offerings at St. Clements allow students to concentrate their learning in areas of personal interests. And Melanie's seeing that now as she's in grade 11, and she'll have even more choice in grade 12. And students really learn to use collaboration, feedback, and reflection to gauge in critical issues, which leads really to lifelong learning. Amy, do you want to continue?
Sure. I would say I would describe, and I guess the original question was, how would you describe the program? And I'd say it is an academically rigorous program that challenges students and engages them in critical thinking, as we both mentioned, creativity, and has students working to deepen their understanding. We provide both breadth and depth in the curriculum, both through our course offerings, as Nat was just mentioning, and through our course planning as well. Breadth is seen through the variety of course offerings and learning experiences we have each student engage in. And as students progress through the upper school, through grades 7 through 12, they have more choice. Again, Nat was just saying, in where they want to deepen their learning. And depth is further augmented within courses themselves, starting in grade 7, as teachers hone in on big and important ideas in each of their domains. And I guess the other important piece is that we would note is our focus on well-being, and that supporting and nurturing well-being is an essential part of who we are as a school. Nat, anything further to add?
No, I was just going to add the well-being piece as well. And I mean, we just had a whole assembly today about well-being and strategies around that. And I think that's really important, because I think students can get really involved in their courses and managing all of the pieces that are involved in each of the courses. And we really have been putting a focus on well-being, and then having the supports in place to also help with the students and how they navigate through the stages.
Yeah, today's wellness assembly was excellent. I got some good tips for taking good care of myself as well. Thinking about the different ways we learn, one of the things I notice as I wander through the halls at St. Clement's, maybe a little less so nowadays because of COVID, but definitely in regular times, is how often I see the students working together, whether it's in the hallways or in their classrooms, and they're collaborating, they're learning from each other, and learning together. So Melanie, Angie, Caitlin, what's it like learning that way? What are the benefits you find from learning together? Go for it, Melanie.
Like before, as independent learner, because I normally prefer independent learning, but when I came to SES, I found that learning collaboratively could be a whole new world, because there are so many minds that think together, and we can create a really great, wonderful idea together, and we can solve it as well. So I basically think that I could learn more from collaborating with others, because we can learn a lot of things from others' personalities or their backgrounds, etc. And I find that really interesting.
Thanks, Melanie. Caitlin or Angie, do you have anything to add to what that collaboration feels like? And
yeah, I kind of want to add on to that. And I find that a lot of times, like collaborating with other people with like different, like Melanie said, with different personalities and different like experiences with different like values, I kind of learned that I found that I was able to like build on what I was seeing from them. Like I have my own character trait, and then I had like my way of doing things, for example. And by collaborating with other people, I could see things from their perspective, and then like, and I was able to build off of my experience on that, and it really helped me, I think personally, like grow, and how I was able to, in my perspective and how I see things.
that's brilliant. Angie, does that align for you? Any?
Yeah, I think similarly to what they said, it really enhances our learning experiences to be able to collaborate with one another who don't think in the same way that we might. So I end up having a much better understanding of the topic or discussion that we'll be having. because of this. And I think that's something that's really unique to St. Clements because we have such small class sizes. And yeah, it's really helpful.
So from the teaching perspective, Peter and Jennifer, what would you say collaboration and learning look like here at St. Clements?
I can start. I can speak to my science classes, especially my senior grade 11 and 12 physics, as well as my grade 8. Part of the thing that gets me most excited as a teacher that I enjoy in the classes the most is actually seeing students working together, giving them problem-solving situations that they have to collaborate on and sort out together, and especially ones that are really conceptually challenging and deal with actually some of their misconceptions around a topic. I use these special question sets called actual misconception questions, where it challenges them to, think actually of what laws of physics are going to apply into this scenario instead of their initial, gut feeling. And it's so interesting seeing students debate with each other and really get into these discussions. But while they're doing that, all of them are really enhancing each other's understanding. Someone comes in with this preconceived notion, but then they're having their peers challenge that, which I find is so much more powerful than, it coming down on high from a teacher. If they're actually getting that from each other and building each other up in this collaborative way, it affords these awesome learning experiences, which also make it so pleasurable to be in the class as well too, to see this growth.
And Peter really captures that kind of that fun piece there too, that I think is so important. I think the other thing about collaboration, and Peter, you addressed this too, is that I think we really approach it here with intention. It's a big part of what students do in different classes. So, what does it look like? I can give an example. I teach drama, as I said, but in my grade 8 integrated studies course, we were recently working on an assignment where the students were asked to script and perform a scene out of one of the 3 conferences at Confederation as part of their Canadian history unit. So they were given their groups, and they had really essentially 2 criteria. They were asked to include the people who were involved in the conference, and then within their scenes, they needed to communicate something about the big outcome of the conference. And so the task really required a lot of things. It required a fair bit of research, writing, performance, which really ended up being more of a dramatic reading in our current COVID, facing our current COVID restrictions. But they were really told that each person needed a role in the process. And since not every person loves to perform, they really needed to think about how to divide those tasks to play to their individual strengths. And what was amazing is how they did it. I was able to circulate during that experience and offer suggestions to them, but really it was about them asking questions of themselves, of one another, finding answers. They were making decisions as a group. They were digging deeper into what they were learning and going back to their sources to really verify what they were thinking. They really workshopped their ideas, tried things out, and it was exciting to watch. And they really depended on one another to contribute, and their final products were great. But really what struck me in the end is that I felt like they had a way better sense of what I was hoping for them to learn in that process than they would have had they just done reading on it. I think the experience of working together in that kind of way really deepened the learning for them. And it was not a summative task. And so they weren't graded on it, but in their reflections on it, it was clear that they had really learned from one another in that process.
Amy.
Yeah, thanks. And I think, if we're listening here to the students and the teachers, and hopefully it's coming across to everyone who's listening in, that we've got a real a sense of engagement there with learning. And so along with collaboration, I would say that our faculty employ a variety of teaching approaches to engage students. And as you sort of can gather what you've been hearing, student-centered approaches and also experiential learning opportunities spur on students in their learning. Nat?
Yeah, I think the one, what goes along with collaboration is also the feeling of engagement. And you're going to find students engaging with the teacher, with the learning, with the environment, and with each other. And that's something that up here on the third floor, I get to witness all the time. And so it's a whole learning experience, not just an individualized learning experience. And I think it's really rich. And we have evidence of that every day.
So what I'm really hearing is that there's a community of learners that are all engaged together, and so that sort of makes me think about what that teacher-student relationship is like. So Melanie, Caitlin, Angie, one of the things we often hear from students is how approachable and supportive the faculty are here at St. Clement's. So what are your thoughts? How do you find the relationship with the teachers at the school?
I guess I'll start. I think the teachers, they really do try to make class fun. So like I think from hearing from like the stories that Ms. Wareham and Mr. McGrath have been telling, they're not just like standing in the front of the class and they're just lecturing all of us kind of thing. And so by giving us like fun projects and showing us that, you know, they're just really here to help us keep going and keep learning in the best way possible. I think it makes it really easy to go to them and ask for questions and ask for help. I know, like, trying to think of an example. Yeah. So, okay. So, we had an assessment one, I think, a while ago, and then I wasn't really sure. Like, I was like, oh, I kind of want to discuss my mark or something like that, and that's usually not something that you just go to the teacher about. And I think I was able to like really like talk to him and have a good conversation about it, and I feel like that was only possible because he was really clear about the fact that he wanted to help us learn, and if we really had any questions, then we could go to him. And I feel like that's not something that I really had experience with in my previous school. I kind of, whenever I had a question, I would just ask a friend instead, and really try to like avoid the teacher confrontation. And I feel like that's something pretty special about the way, I guess, the relationship that we have with our teachers.
Absolutely. Melanie.
I do agree with Caitlin because I personally find the teachers here really approachable and they don't hesitate to like maybe stay half an hour after school just to help you with some question that you had a lot of difficulty with. And also regarding the students, I was particularly shocked when I first came here in grade 9. When I was new, I still remember the first day when I came to the third floor. So many people like swarmed me and they were asking me so many questions. And at that split second, I felt so welcomed and not really that nervous anymore because all of the people were so friendly and nice.
Go ahead, Angie.
Yeah, so adding on to them, I feel like after a period of time where I've had one teacher, since we see them so often and it's so like personal almost, the connection that you leave the class with, that if you have them again in previous years, it's like the nicest feeling. It's like a familiar face when you're having a teacher who you had in like grade 6 and you're in grade 9 now. It's like the weirdest but most cool thing because it's like you've grown so much and you get to continue your learning. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so part of our mission is that everyone is known and valued. Every student is known and valued at the school. And so Jen and Peter, how do you find that impacts the teaching and learning at the school?
I can start this one. In terms of how does it impact teaching? Well, I think we consciously make time to get to know students as individuals within that instructional time that we have. And that, you know, it could show through in a number of different ways. It may be just regular check-ins. It may be an attendance question where students respond to a topic that's unrelated to what's happening at school. It may be letting a conversation go in a different direction than planned because it's what the students are really caring about in a moment. It could be, something like responding to a writing prompt that asks them to make connections between what they're doing in class and their own experiences, and with that intention of getting a sense of who they are as individuals. It may also be, like a birthday slide at the beginning of a class to acknowledge, a celebration in the class. So it has, because we do make time for that in a day, it becomes part of what we do in our classes. But it also impacts teaching in that it informs us how we need to, knowing the students informs how we will modify our approaches with them based on what they need. So like we know on a Monday morning what works may not work on a Friday afternoon. We know that days when math tests are happening, maybe it's not a great day to introduce a new assignment because there's already, a number of things that students are worried about. So it has an impact on that in that kind of way. But we also think about, okay, what do students need in order to be successful from us? Is it a graphic organizer? Is it a chance to talk out something? Is it, a teacher who could break down a task in a way so that it is more manageable in smaller parts as opposed to being something bigger that they need to approach? I think all of this has a huge impact on their learning, because when you know the kids, you know what it is from day to day that they need in order to be successful and to feel successful, and it informs the decisions you make as a teacher.
Yeah, I'd echo what Jen was saying there on a couple of things. First of all, just that getting a read for the room and just building that community in the classroom, that helps a lot with my flexibility to, like Jen said, if you see something coming up, if you see everyone's a little exhausted, you can modify that and to get the most rich learning out of them. The other thing I'll say is co-curriculars involvement, and the fact that staff are always involved in a variety of different co-curriculars has really given me a lot better understanding of students. Like I had a student in a senior level physics course who I coached on track and field, who was a really great high jumper. And I mean, we were talking about conservation of energy, and I realized, hey, this is this perfect example to link it to this passion of her. And I just remember, starting to talk about, conservation of energy with the high jump, and it's all about the speed you have going into this. And I just saw her face just light up, and so it really allows me and my class as well too, getting to know the students so well, helps me foster that engagement and that passion that really I think is so fundamental to their learning. On that note as well too, our home form program has helped me a lot with that as well too. This year especially, we meet with a small group of students every day. I'm a grade 12 home form teacher. I've got 10, 11 students actually with me for 30 minutes each day, and it's just this time to connect. They're not academically involved in me. It's not like I'm doing any kind of course program with them, but there's always great programming on mental health, on support, but also just time to chat and learn about them. Like I learned that one of my students did professional baking and is on Instagram with his amazing cakes. I learned another one of my students does aerial silks just out of nowhere. And it's really a lot of these co-curricular opportunities allow us to understand the students so much better, to then integrate that passion, that interest in our classes with them as well too.
I love it. Anything to add? Nat, I see you unmute.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what we've done with our timetable, I mean, we've structured it to provide time to connect with other students and having meaningful connections with teachers in small groups, as Peter's just mentioned, through the home form programming, was a priority for us. We meet also in terms of getting together as a community. We meet as a whole community weekly with our full school assemblies on Wednesdays. And, our staff and faculty are, help to mentor our students and our student leaders. And so we are, athletic coaches, we are, monitors for clubs and games day. And so we're really involved, as been echoed by Jen and Peter, we're really involved in even the co-curricular side of things here. So it's not just all academics. We're definitely involved in a lot of fun as well. Amy, anything to add?
So while I've got you on the topic of co-curriculars, Nat, do you want to, or actually maybe I'll throw this to Jen and Peter. Do you want to tell me a bit about what our school's philosophy is for the co-curricular activities?
I can start. One of the big ones. So currently, right now, I'm helping advise a student who's running film club. And one of the big philosophies with our leadership program, and it ties in with co-curriculars, is developing students to become independent leaders themselves as well too. So, for instance, with film club, I'm not running that. You know, that's very much driven by the student leader. I'll have check-ins with them every week or so, give them tips, you know, help do some tech troubleshooting or whatever, but the overall goals of the program, how the students are being engaged in film club, the choice of film, the discussions around it, all of this is coming from the students. So I would say, you know, one aspect of the co-curricular program that really stands out to me is that it's very leadership development based, where it's looking for opportunities not just to, you know, get students to do something, but to really make sure that they're leading it, that they see themselves as a big part of it, and having a voice in that kind of programming as well too.
Yeah, and I would add on to that to say that it's the word that came to my mind when thinking about sort of the philosophy was inclusive, and I think that for me is part of probably what I love most about co-curriculars at the school. There's room for everyone to take part, and there are so many opportunities. And we create opportunities for students to really want to take part. I think about, a play, for example. We choose plays that leave room for all students who want to be involved, who want to be on stage, to have that opportunity. We give the students a chance to be engaged in the process of choosing the kinds of things they want to do during co-curricular time at school, and we do what we can to make that happen. What do you want to be taking part in, and taking some of that leadership or some of that guidance from the students? Kids learn what it is to feel like being a part of something. So even if they're maybe not the best athlete on the team or the star of the show, they learn what it feels to like to be an athlete or to be a performer. They get to be involved. And in a more competitive environment, they may not have the same access to those opportunities. And these are the kinds of things that really they carry beyond school with them. They're the kinds of experience that shape how they see themselves and their identities.
I want to actually jump on off of that with Jen. It made me remember this as well too, that supportive environment is so fundamental to our co-curriculars. Coaching cross country, I had all of these incredibly talented athletes who are coming out to the finish line as one of their peers who had been working so hard this whole year and gone to our finals, and was definitely the slowest of the lot, but had worked so hard and gone to that point, and all of them were running around the finish line, cheering her on as she coming in, and just incredibly supportive. And it's not like I was forcing you better go and cheer her on at the finish line. That was driven by them all. It's a really supportive community as well too, where everyone's really involved and interested in the well-being of others as well as themselves, and kind of lifting everyone up. So it just reminded me of that.
Caitlin, I see you nodding along. Does this agree with sort of the experience you've had with the co-curricular program at the school?
Yeah, totally. Because I've been like I said before, I've been involved in a lot of sports at our school, and it's something that I see that's really unique to our school. Even if we've lost the game or something, or even if let's say I was on the basketball team, and there were kids that were there that just didn't know how to play, and that was it was totally fine. We'd all have fun at practices, we'd all be teaching each other, and we'd be having fun, and at games we'd be we'd be our bench would be the loudest out of everybody there, And even if we were down like 20-0, it didn't matter because we were all having fun and we were all like being so supportive, like Mr. McGrath was saying. We were all being so supportive of each other. And I thought it was amazing. Yeah.
Melanie, Angie, would have been like, you talked about the wide variety of things you've both been involved with. Melanie, probably a little bit more of everything, whereas Angie, you've sort of found your niche in a general area. But, you know, what have been some of the highlights of the co-curricular program for you? And also, how did you find getting involved in the co-curricular program? Was it easy?
I guess I could start. I'll use Vex Robotics as my example here. So at first, when I heard about it, I was like, oh God, this is going to be sort of like another liability. Like, oh, I'm going to show up and it's going to be so boring. But now it's like my favorite part of the week because it's so hands-on and we're in groups and there's just like such a fun energy and like time going on. We'll have music playing. We'll be learning how to put different parts of like metal and screws together in order to create a robot that actually moves with a sensor. And then on top of that, we're also learning how to code, and we get to use the machine with like our goggles and cut the metal. It's just like a very hands-on activity. And I feel like the school has a lot of things like that where they can take a topic that may sound boring or like very niche and turn it into something so exciting. And yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about our co-curriculars.
Yeah, so for me, my favorite activity must be the annual production backdrop design because I really love art. So I started the activity on grade 9. And so I basically joined the club because I just saw the amazing backdrops that were starting to be designed in the art studio. I just asked our art teacher, and she was really willing for me to join. So I think that accessibility is not a problem for extracurriculars because you can always take the initiative to join, and everyone would gladly let you in. So yeah.
So thinking of letting you in and joining things, thinking a bit about back to when you were new at the school. You know, Melanie, you came in grade 7. Angie, you came in grade 6. Caitlin, you came in grade 7. So all at different entry points. How was that transition for you? What was it like to transition into St. Clement's? Go for it, Melanie.
So I came here in grade 9 and I was especially nervous because I also moved from Hong Kong to Canada. So it was really scary at first because English is my third language and I'm definitely not at all confident speaking it, but I felt really comfortable when I was speaking with other people on my first day of school because they were so understanding and patient, and they literally sat there waiting for me to think of the vocabulary I wanted to say. So I was really grateful for that. And also, I think it's no problem for newcomers to fit in right away because everyone is just so warm and friendly. And I wouldn't say that I felt like excluded from things because there are just so many opportunities available in the school, and it really pushes me to learn more.
And so I'm just going to stick with you for a second, Melanie, because I had a question in the chat, in fact, from one of our parents who's watching, specifically talking about whether it was harder to integrate in grade 9 with so many people having come in grade 7. Now, I will say as an admissions person that in fact there are more new people in grade 9 than there are in grade 7. But did you found it fairly easy to make your way socially, and how about some of your other newbies in grade 9?
So for me socially, at first I kind of became really close friends with all the people that came in with me in grade 9. But later in all the classes, because we had to collaborate with each other, you get to experience a lot more hands-on activities with a lot more people from different backgrounds. So I have a lot of classmates that came from all over the world, like Dubai, Romania, etc. And it was really nice learning about their backgrounds, and they're all very respectful as well. So I would say that communicating with them is definitely not a problem, but being close friends and being close friends with a person is an entirely different story, because you still have to see if your personality matches with the person. But overall, in general, I think that it's very easy to fit into the school.
And Caitlin and Angie, you can kind of help me a bit on that question too, because you've just recently, not only do you have your own experience being new, but you're in grade 9 where you've just welcomed in a whole bunch of people into grade 9. How did you feel integrating into the school, and when you came in grade 7 and 6, and how have you felt welcoming in a whole new bunch of people this year? Go for it, Angie.
I guess I could speak to this a little bit. So grade 9, we got a lot of new kids. I think that is definitely the most we've ever gotten throughout an entry year. And personally, my experience was very good. A lot of my friends currently are some of the new girls. And I think that St. Clements provides a lot of ways before the students actually come to St. Clements for us to connect and meet each other. So over summer, we had like a bunch of virtual sort of gatherings where we got to know each other a bit, and that was really exciting and helpful. I got some contact information over the summer, and then some of my friends actually knew people who were coming to St. Clements, so then we met before, and I feel like there wasn't a stage of awkwardness for, I guess, most of the grade. I can't speak for everyone, obviously, but it felt like everybody was kind of there for a long time, and it was kind of like really good.
Caitlin, do you want to, or maybe Caitlin, do you want to speak about what it was like coming in grade 7, since that's another big upper school point to come in?
Sure. So I came to SES in grade 7. So it was the beginning of middle school.
Yep, and upper school.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And I think it did definitely feel like a transition, I guess, because we are going from lower school to upper school. So there is like a natural transition in between there. But like socially, in the social perspective, I didn't think that I didn't feel really awkward trying to talk to people, because I could tell that everybody was trying to be open. So I think a lot of the kids, or most of the kids in my grade, they were really excited to meet like new people. And I can kind of personally say that for the new kids in grade 9, I was really excited to meet them as well. And so it didn't feel super awkward for me to try to make new friends, because at the same time, they were also making an effort to connect with me as well. So it wasn't too big of an issue for me to find friends. Like eventually I did find my own, like, my little friend group who have like the same interests as me. But like in general, like we're all pretty friendly in our grade. We're all pretty open. We talk to each other. And yeah, so I think for anybody like trying to get in, trying to just coming to SES grade 7, grade 9, just probably know that most of the kids in your grade, they're probably looking forward to meeting you. And yeah.
So true. Often when we have new student events, the first thing I have to do is actually tell our current students, like, don't overwhelm the new girls. Everyone's so excited to welcome in the new students. To the staff on the call, is there anything you want to add in how we help our new students transition into the school?
I can start this time. First of all, I'll just say, I mean, based on what you heard all the students say, I mean, they do the heavy lifting as well too. I mean, they're already so welcoming. I've got, for instance, a new grade 11 in this year, which is not your typical transition year in my class, but I can already see, I mean, all of the classes engaging her during kind of problem solving sessions when discussing. I see others right from the get-go. We're trying to get her opinions. There were during kind of like our first class where everyone was sharing, you know, kind of their interests and where they came from and stuff. Everyone was really excited to learn about her and everything like that as well too. So the students drive a lot of that. As far as efforts I make personally, I definitely make an extra effort to connect with those new students. Often scheduling some kind of independent work sessions with me at the get-go as well too, just to do a bit of, you know, diagnostic work as well too, to see, you know, what kind of background are they coming with as well too, just to ease their transition into the community academically, but also just to get to know them a bit better. So that's that's it for me.
Yeah, I think we, you know, one of the great parts about, you know, about the support that we get as staff too, is that we know when we have new students in the midst, and we are reminded of that, and we make, you know, I think we collectively make an effort just not to make assumptions about what students already know coming into our classes in terms of content, but also like around school routines, what Peter was speaking to there, you know, like the students will support the new students, they jump in and do it, but we also you know, make sure that if there's a moment where a student is, you know, looking a little bit unsure or about what's you know, what this routine is or what this school tradition is, it's okay, explain this so we all have a sense of how this goes, you know, and or if, you know, if we're talking to the students about you know, previous learning, okay, tell me what you know about this, not, oh, you did this last year in this course, because if, you know, in doing that, it, you know, you really are focusing on the students who've been there before. It's partly about being really conscious of the language that you choose to when you're engaging with the students. I think there are, I'm still new to the school, so I feel like I still feel very new to the school. This is only my third year, and so I feel like I'm still doing some learning alongside of the students who are new. I have a colleague who does, who definitely pairs new students up with a buddy, which is something that I would like to try as well in my classes. I think different teachers have different strategies just to ensure that the students feel welcome and feel like, yeah, like just feel the warmth that is the environment that SCS is.
And I think,
yeah, I just wanted to jump on Jen on that as well too, is how much I collaborate with other staff members as well too. I remember a couple of years ago, I had a new student who, after we had kind of done an initial assessment, seemed like she was having a really hard time with it. And I knew she was taking another class. And so I reached out to that colleague of mine of like, what have your experiences been as well too around this subject area, and was able to get a lot of insight from him as well too, to help me, you know, better understand that student's needs as well too. So the kind of collaboration between the staff around that helps a lot as well.
Thanks. I'm going to try to summarize a little bit on that, because I think what you've heard from, or what we've all heard from both the students and from our two faculty, that is really encapsulates what I think is the new student integration. And we sort of have these formal structures that we do each year, and then we've got the more organic things that happen. So formal structures might be things like Angie mentioned, you know, the orientation and welcome kind of events where we provide those opportunities for those initial connections as the new students get to know their classmates and our returning students get to know the new ones, and also to help with those adjustments to the new space, the new faces, and things like that. Each of our students also has a Linkwell counselor, and I won't get into Linkwell, but essentially that's sort of a souped up guidance counselor perhaps, who connects with them in the first few weeks of school and stays in touch with them as needed as they settle in into the learning as well as the community. You've heard from Jen and Peter how much the teachers do themselves, not just for the academic pieces of it, but also just that connection and becoming part of the community. And I think if we look at sort of what we've been talking about this whole evening, a lot of what you've heard about our teaching approaches, the learning community, our co-curricular program, all of those pieces, they're all key aspects and opportunities for our new students as they integrate into the community. It's sort of all of the doorways and windows and cracks and crevices and the ways in to become members and to feel part of the community. And I think if we look at it as a whole, I look at it as a whole program or a whole piece to it all. And with that, hopefully our new students' experiences are much like what Melanie, Caitlin, and Angie have all described for us today. Thanks.
And I think on that note, it's such a lovely wrap up, and I see it's 5:22, and so I've kept you 7 minutes longer. And so I want to firstly thank our guests this evening who've joined us. Thank you so much for spending the time to learn a little bit more about life in the upper school. Often these kinds of things can trigger more questions, so please don't hesitate to reach out. We're very happy to answer the questions, further questions. And I want to thank all of you on the panel, Nat, Amy, Jen, Peter, Melanie, Angie, Caitlin. Thank you so much for your time and your insight. You've really fleshed out so much of what life at St. Clements is like for our guests, and you know, makes me kind of envious. I was a Clementine once, but I think the experiences you're giving and the experiences you're having just are second to none. So, thank you so much for that. To our guests, please continue to tune in to our admissions chats. We look forward to share more about life at St. Clements with you. And I wish you all a lovely evening. Thank you for being with us. Until our next chat. Bye-bye.